All right. Well, here with us today is the one and only Radhika Cruz. She's an author, faith-based blogger, podcaster, respected leadership facilitator, and my good friend. I've been knowing
Mm,
Radhika Cruz for a whole minute,
come
right?
on.
A whole minute.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been
Oh,
knowing Radhika for quite a while and her family, and so we appreciate her coming. In addition to writing workforce development curriculum and hosting statewide conferences for human services professionals in Oklahoma, Radhika is she is passionate about helping others to their full potential and to walk confidently in their purpose. And so Radhika, she's here today to talk about her new book. It's a devotional book made
hmm.
for more 30 devotions to help you overcome challenges and disappointment, confidently step into your purpose and achieve godly success. And so Radhika will
Hmm.
share her personal and her professional journey. She will discuss her newest book and offer uplifting. We can uplift too, whatever that,
That's right.
right?
Come
Uplift.
on.
That's it. Practical strategies to help listeners overcome life setbacks, discover their God-giving purpose, and pursue success rooted in faith. So,
Yes.
Radhika, how are you?
Yes. I'm good. I'm so great. I can't complain, raising a 16-year-old and a soon to be 27-year-old. So
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I know. When Vicky was talking, it's crazy because I remember when her girls were just little, and preschool age, and I was helping to support Vicky, while
Mhm.
I was working on my undergraduate degree. So it's been over a couple decades. So we're
yeah.
good. I feel very fortunate. Thank you again for just having me on. When you reached out, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so honored. So, um, I'm excited to just share and be a part of this conversation. And of course, I love you. So,
Yes. And D, what do you say to the one and only Radhika Ruth?
Well, we're really happy to have you here, and I
Hmm.
thoroughly enjoyed reading your book.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, it's wonderful to have you back on the show, Radhika, and
Yeah.
give us a brief catch up. What exciting things have
Yes.
you been working on since we last talked?
Yeah. So, I started another book, and so I have about 55,000 pages on that. So it's probably more the research and practical steps to support the devotional. And so I've been working on that slowly. I'm leading two book groups right now, two women's groups. So one is on the devotional. So we're going through the devotional together. And then another is another faith-based small group that's focused on building stronger, more resilient mindsets. So I'm leading those two groups. I've been book journaling. I'm a big bookworm and a book reader, and so I got into book journaling this year. So track all my books and do reviews, and challenging myself to read harder, meaning read outside of my comfort zone than the normal genres that I'm interested in. So I've been doing that. I'm getting ready in 2 weeks to facilitate a motivational interviewing workshop for a statewide conference whose target audience is developmental disabilities, professionals, and service providers. So I'm excited about that, writing the content for that. I just was certified in three of five. We're going to get ready to get the other two courses for crucial learning. So I don't know if anyone has heard of crucial learning, but the couple courses that I just got certified in is mastering crucial conversations, the power of habit, and getting things done, which is a productivity course. And then the fun thing I'm planning is right now, next year, I'll be 50. And so I'm planning
Woo-hoo.
my birthday trip to New Zealand. That's the goal.
Oh,
Oh, that's
wow.
So,
nice.
yes, gotta go big or go home, right? So
So that's
that's what I've
great.
been up to.
Well,
Yep.
it sounds great.
Why New Zealand?
Oh, so I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I love The Hobbit, and I want to go visit Hobbitville over there.
Ah,
Plus, it has so many terrain changes, right? You have your volcanoes, you have your waterfalls, you have the green, lush land, and then you have the mountains. And so I want to see it all. Never been to that part of the country. Look, could
Mm-mm.
never afford it until now. So we are planning a big trip. My daughter, she wants to come. My husband was like, absolutely not. This is me and you. So looking forward to
Oh,
that.
that's
Yep.
nice. That's
That's
nice.
great.
I know
Mhm.
I haven't been to New Zealand either, but hey,
Yeah.
maybe I'll put that on one of
Come
the.
on.
Uh,
Celebrate with me over there.
I know. When is it? When is it? You gonna be what,
So
next year or this
50, yeah, up 50 next year in July. But, they're on the other part of the world. So I need to go around maybe December,
Yeah,
November,
because their
December.
seasons are opposite. I was in
Exactly.
Australia, so
Oh,
it's now coming into spring, so it's starting to get a little bit cold
fall.
there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
year?
Yep.
Wow, that sounds exciting. Well,
Yeah.
we gotta hook up with
Come
y'all.
on.
Let's
Yeah, come
go.
on. Hey, I see you over here world traveling. So, hey, I'm trying to
Hey,
get on your level, Dr. Doe.
I don't know, because Dee be saying, "Well, let's go to this and let's go." I'm like, "Well, why not?
Right? That's right. Why not?
Why
Why
not?"
not?
That's
Because you
it.
can.
Yes, and
Yep.
that's a part of living too, you know?
Yes.
That's a part
Yes.
Yes.
of living, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we heard all of that. We know
Mm-hmm.
that you are a trainer and a leadership. We always see that, a leadership
Yeah.
facilitator. We see that when we see your name. So break it down for us so that we can kind of, understand what that is and what you do and
Yeah.
how you got involved in that and all that.
Oh man, that's a story. So I'll tell
Mm,
you kind of a little bit of what I do.
okay.
So my role really is to help design and facilitate customize in-person or virtual learning experiences. And those experiences can be a few hours, right? They could be very short micro learnings. It could be a full day training, multiple days, or it could be over the series of a couple days, like in a conference setting, or it could be like a leadership retreat. So those are some of the context. But the idea really is to help build knowledge, skill, and abilities with our external contractors, which are typically federal grantees, contracts that we get at the federal level, or contracts that we receive at the state level. And currently, we are working with Oklahoma's Department of Human Services to serve their adult and family services staff and workforce, and also their developmental disabilities staff and workforce. So that's a big bulk of our target learner audience, if you will. And it's really just to help equip them to perform at a high level in their role, to build high performing teams so they can just continue to lead and serve others well in their work. The leadership part right now, we're focusing on this kind of crucial learning path, if you will. So, really helping them. How do you have difficult, crucial conversations with staff when it comes to when opinions vary, emotions are high, and the stakes are high, right? So, there's a lot of strategies in those communication tactics. So, we're focusing on that. Of course, every organization wants to have high performing teams that produce high performing results and have really lasting impact. And so that training course is designed to help them think through how they can be more productive and develop habits that are going to help them be successful. So that's the kind of leadership angle, but really leaders within our organization. So I help facilitate some of the learning environments for our own internal staff in our internal workforce, and then also externally with federal and state contractors. So overall, I think the goal really is to build human capacity, right? Tap into the potential of people, help them see the more that they can become, help them to see themselves differently, their self-perceptions, and really just give them help boost their confidence, their competence, and their capacity to just do their jobs well and really affect change. So
Okay.
hopefully that
So,
gives a little
Radhika,
synopsis.
I
Yeah.
have a question. So, when you're in
Yeah.
a room doing one of these leadership facilitating sessions, um, what for you is the biggest barrier when you've got all these egos and all these people coming together? What would you say is the biggest barrier trying to break through that, getting everybody on the same page?
My approach is always to lead from a place of none of us is as smart as all of us. And if we can learn to tap into, so I facilitate from a place of I'm not the expert in the room. I'm here to just help pull the expertise and the knowledge and the skills and experiences out of each person and to help them really see that their experiences matter, their perspective matters, and how they can be a part of helping their peers, right, grow and thrive in their leadership practice. And so I think a big part of my role is to create safety. It's not easy. I think depending on your age as a facilitator and your experience, some people may be very intimidated in walking to a room like that. And so I think you really have to manage your own self-talk and recognize that, I'm equipped for this. I'm skilled. I don't know everything. I'm here to help facilitate the learning, not be the expert in the room. And I think if you can use humor and you are great at asking great questions and engaging in powerful reflective listening, strategies, you'll be able to move that group, you'll be able to disarm them, and just having fun, laughing at yourself, sharing your own mistakes and failures, I think creates space for others to want to share some of their challenges and their mistakes as well, right? I think when you lead from a place of, you know, this idea that there's no such thing as I think Nelson Mandela said it best. He said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And
Mm-hmm.
if we can help leaders to see, hey, this is not about losing, this is not about competition, this is about us learning and winning together. And so, how can we create a space where we can do that? But it's not easy. I think you have to be confident in who you are. I think you have to learn strategies for how to build safety, how to go first with your own vulnerability, right? And how to really ask great questions to draw out of others. And I think those things really help create for a meaningful learning environment.
Yes, you using all the skills that we teach for coaching skills.
Yes, that's
No,
exactly right.
those being skills. That's what we say in coaching.
Come
Uh,
on.
with mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking the questions to inquire and pull that out of folks. And yeah, I
Yep.
love it. I love it.
Yeah. I was just going to say one last thought. I do think, I don't know if I really answered your question, but I will say you're always going to walk into a room where people have some kind of resistance, right? They
Hmm.
may not want to be there. They
Hmm.
may think they know more. And I've just learned to not take it personal and recognize that I can't win everyone. But if I can put to focus on the majority, focus on the learner who's open, who's ready to learn, who's engaged, and I can't give my energy and effort to the resistant or the disruptive. Now, I will, as a facilitator, have to lead through that disruption and let that disruptor know you will not damage safety in this environment. I will hold you accountable to that. But that's why a great facilitator actually establishes a group agreement. What are we going to agree, right, that we need in this environment to feel safe so that others can share, even if that disruptor, that kind of quiets them down a little bit. Like that will be not be tolerated. I don't care who you are. That's
That's
my job.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
good.
yes, I'm telling you. And then, especially now in the environment that we're in now,
Mm,
hmm, mm.
hmm. Right. So you have to be able to say if I allow these things to happen, I'm damaging safety and learning, and that is not the goal. And so I have to be willing to get uncomfortable and kind of respectfully call people out if I need to. But the goal is at the top of that learning experience to really establish those group agreements.
And other people have to be protected in the room too.
Yes, 100%. That's
Yes,
right.
yes. Well, I love it. Well, you're here to talk about your book. Yes, your new book. And
Yes.
it's made for more. Now,
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Hmm.
Since it's John Cruz and you guys, I say, is that Moray?
It's a play on the word, right? The layout and design of it. Hmm.
Right? Made for Moray.
If that's how you want to say it, go on
Yes,
ahead.
yes. But it's made for more, and it's an
Hmm.
inspiring devotional book, and you have 30 powerful reflections. And I love how when you open it, it's just so full of word and pictures and
Mm,
all of that.
yes,
And then a
yes,
space for you to even write. Those of you that like
yes,
to do writing and journals and
yes.
journaling. And so I want you to really talk about this book. What was the driving force
Mm,
behind you writing this book, and what message do you
yes.
want us to feel when we open the book? What do you want us to get out of this? What's the message?
Yeah, yeah. So the driving force, first, before I get into the message that I wanted to send, is like the why. So the why behind this book. So my mother died at my age, so I'll be 49. She passed away at 49 years of age, 17 years ago. And when my mother died, I realized she has a lot of stories and struggles and lessons learned and perspectives that I will never be able to gain or learn from. She took those to the grave with her. And as I am now her age, I'm thinking like, I don't want, as a mom of a 16-year-old and a 27-year-old, like I knew I didn't want to leave this earth without my kids having some type of written account, something that's going to live beyond me, right? Of some of the core beliefs and biblical truths and principles and perspectives that I have learned, that I have gained and walked through, that can really be shared with them now to help them thrive and live really with this sense of meaning and mission and purpose, direction, hope, and confidence. And so there were kind of these four key areas that I'm like, man, I got to get these topics out. You know, they were these very specific things that I wanted my kids or any reader, right? Anybody who picks this up to either rethink or consider as it relates to living their life with a clear sense of purpose and just even rethinking how they perceive and approach challenges and setbacks. I wanted my kids and any reader to understand where their true value and worth and significance comes from, because it does not come from other people. It doesn't come from a title. It doesn't come from money, right? And I want people to really, my kids in particular, to really rethink how they define success. And so I wanted them to let go of society's measuring stick and standards of success, because I'm an achiever. Like I was on this track of like, I got this thing to achieve, this goal to hit, this educational goal, this certification goal, right? And so I'm very driven toward in that way and was always striving, I felt like. And then I realized that's not really, from a faith and biblical perspective, that's really not meaningful success, or has success that has eternal implications. Those things are good. I still believe that you should, get your education and have some goals. Come on, that's what I train about. Let's be goal driven, but from a faith perspective that was driving some of this, I wanted them to strive for godly success, which has eternal implications. So that is really the why behind it. And those four topic areas that I felt were really important were for them to talk about, for them to understand my perspective on their purpose, how to reframe setbacks and disappointments so that it doesn't destroy them, right? Gain a higher perspective on that. Again, to know their value and their worth comes from God, and to understand how God defines success. So that was important for me to get out.
Okay, what do you say, Dee? Wow.
Well, I want to drill down on a couple of your last comments. So in your book, you talk about, and this is one of my favorite chapters, when you talk
Mm,
about people getting unstuck from disappointment and discouragement. What are some key biblical principles you found effective in moving past emotional setbacks? And for me, one of the chapters that I like the most, I guess because I'm older than you are. And I think with those extra couple of years, I've gained more wisdom. But your life disruptions serve a divine purpose, and that's
hmm
a huge, big pet peeve of mine with young people today.
mm,
They are not able to accept disappointments and
yes.
disruptions. They're ready to jump off the bridge.
Mhm.
Uh, they're ready to fly into a rage because we don't teach them early on your what you were saying about there's a divine purpose, about teaching your
hmm
kids, even just like with
Yes.
your 16-year-old. Everybody can't get an award at the baseball game. Somebody just gonna one person's gonna get it. You can't give everybody one, and
Right.
having to understand disappointments and dealing with it. But I don't think we do that with our
hmm
kids. And then by the time they get to college and they get that first C plus, they're ready to just, so help me with some of your scriptures, which I
Yeah.
loved. This was very important for me because I just lost my
Mm.
mother 3 weeks ago.
Oh
And
my
so this
word.
was
I'm
very
sorry.
helpful. I'm telling you, your
Mm.
book was just heaven sent for
Oh.
me to help me.
Oh man.
She was 107.
Yeah, that's why I was like, you gotta,
Young like your
you forgot,
mom.
D, you can't forget that now. You
She
got
was a
can't
she
leave
was a
that out. She's
she
107.
was
Wow.
107. Talk
Wow.
about wisdom and all of
Mm,
that. But
mm.
just still, as I was saying to somebody today, even though your mom is whatever age she is, she's still your mommy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I just want you to
That's right.
know, to set all of this aside, how your
Mm.
book really helped me too.
Oh, wow. That makes me cry, it makes me emotional. Wasn't expecting that. Wow, what a blessing to have had all those years with your mom. Part of me is jealous, but I understand God even had a purpose in that because you know what? One of the biggest lessons that my mom's death has taught me is how to live with more intention, to live with mortality in my face, right? Because when you live recognizing that tomorrow is not promised to me, I'm not guaranteed to make it to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, right? So I need to be more intentional with the time that I do have, with the moment that I'm in, to be more present, right? I had a tendency to be so future focused and not losing the magic in the daily moments. And so her loss has taught me and made me really rethink what is most important to me in life. And so thank you for sharing that with me. And I'm so sorry to hear of your loss. And I
Thank
would
you.
love to just even hear some of your stories and the lessons that she's learned, you've learned from her. Like, I'm like, hey, there's wisdom there. I want that. So when I think about, we've all had disappointment, right? If you keep on living, I have an older pastor friend who always says, you keep on living, you keep on learning some stuff, keep on living. If you haven't had pain and disappointment, keep on living, right?
It's true.
Um, but it's not something that we should be afraid of. It's inevitable, right? Pain is a part of life, but it's all in how we think about it. And I think that's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in my late 30s and my early 40s was like, it is my perspective. How am I viewing this thing? Am I viewing it as something that has happened to me, or am I viewing it as something that is happening for my good? Right. When I believe there's this divine hand
Mhm.
behind all the things that are happening, even when I can't see, even when I don't understand. I mean, and so the Bible, man, gives us so many, like countless examples of how God turns pain into purpose. So one of my favorite stories is the life of Joseph in the book of Genesis, right?
Yes.
Where he was the beloved child of his father. He had all these brothers. They were jealous. They hated him. And so they threw him in a pit to die. And then they had this idea to sell him into slavery, so he's ended up being enslaved. But in that process, God's favor and hand was upon him. And so he went from a pit to a palace, but then to a prison because he was wrongly accused, right? And then, when he was released, because God's hand was on him and he had a perspective, the thing that I love about him, he says, I think it's in Genesis 43, but if you follow his story, he says, he ends up facing his brothers later in life and they didn't recognize who he was because Joseph was second in command of Egypt now, right? So he went through all that pain. God elevated him. He didn't get mad at God. He didn't ask God why. He was just like, God's going to use me wherever I'm at, no matter where I'm at. And so he just had this perspective, but there's some language there in the scripture that says, he tells his brothers, don't be afraid of me. What you meant for evil, God meant for good.
Mm,
He said, I was not sold, I was sent by God to save lives. And I'm like, my God, if I can have that perspective and
mhm,
say,
Wow.
I wasn't sold, I was sent by God, and I was sent by God to save lives. So I'm not mad at you, brothers, right? I mean, there's so many lessons to unpack there, but that is one of my favorite stories of how his perspective was like, God sent me here. And no matter what the pain was, he has turned it around and worked it for my good because that's a promise of God, right? He causes all things to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. And so I love that story. Another story is in the book of John where Mary and Martha had a brother named Lazarus, right? And Lazarus, Jesus loved him. Lazarus was sick and Lazarus was dying. And the sister sent word and said, hey, go send this word to Jesus and say, hey, my brother is dying. Come right away. Well, he didn't come right away. And
mm,
they were disappointed.
mhm,
And when Jesus came a couple of days later, they said, if you had only been here,
mhm,
my brother wouldn't have died. And what they saw as a delay, what they saw as disappointment, they didn't recognize that God was setting up something so much greater. And he had to die so that he can raise him to life, so he can demonstrate for all the people the power and the glory of God. And so we just see over and over again that we think things it's supposed to be this way. Like, who told us it's supposed to be that way? But we tell ourselves these stories. This wasn't supposed to be what it was supposed to be. My life wasn't supposed to be turned out like this. I should have been married by now. I should have this degree by now. I should have this husband, the house, the retirement plan. All these shoulds. And we get caught up in those stories and not pausing to say, is this what God wants for me? And so, those are a couple of my favorite stories about disappointment. But sometimes I feel like, but that's really about a reframing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about saying, can I see the, can I look at this detour, this delay, this appointment, and see the divine in it?
Yes.